They expected her to heal the wounded. They never expected her to start a war. In a town crushed under occupation, where resistance meant death. And hope was nothing more than a rumor one nurse, unarmed, untrained, and underestimated, ignited an uprising that changed everything. This is the story of the woman the soldiers feared more than a firing squad. It began in the winter of 1943, in a small Eastern European town, swallowed whole by the war. German patrols marched through streets once filled with laughter. Curfews silenced every doorway, and the hospital, a crumbling stone building at the center, had become the place where life and death traded hands every hour. Inside those walls worked Elena Markovich, a 28-year-old nurse with a calm voice, steady hands, and a secret. For months she watched soldiers drag civilians into trucks that never returned. She saw families torn apart. She treated resistance fighters in the dark basement, hiding them between dusty stacks of forgotten supplies. Elena didn't start as a fighter. She started as someone who refused to look away. The spark came one freezing morning. A group of partisans tried to sabotage a German convoy, but were captured before the explosives even touched the road. 3 of them, barely older than boys, were dragged into the hospital after a brutal interrogation. They were beaten, bleeding, barely alive. Elena was ordered to treat them so they could be interrogated again. And that's when something inside her broke. She leaned in close to one of them, a young man named Luca, and whispered, "You are not dying today, not like this." That night, she made her choice. Instead of stitching wounds and changing bandages, Elena began mapping guard rotations. She memorized patrol schedules from the hospital window. She smuggled morphine. She hid uniforms. She salvaged discarded radios. Everything she needed for an uprising, hidden in a nurse's apron. Every step carried risk. One mistake, one suspicious glance, and she'd vanish like the others. But Elena was no longer alone. She recruited quietly, carefully. The janitor who knew every door. The pharmacist who handled every delivery. The older doctor who had buried more young men than he could bear. A resistance cell, born inside a hospital, designed to break them. The uprising began past midnight. The sirens that wailed through the town weren't German alarms, they were Elena's. A fake fire, a staged explosion. Smoke flooding the boiler room. As guards rushed to investigate, Elena led Luca and the 2 other partisans through a service stairwell. She was supposed to stop there, let them escape into the forest, but she didn't. She grabbed a pistol from an unconscious guard, the first weapon she had ever held, and said, "We finish this tonight." Chaos erupted. Civilians poured into the streets, believing the occupation was collapsing. German officers scrambled for control, and Elena's small cell, fewer than a dozen people, seized the moment. They sabotaged trucks, cut communications, ambushed patrols in alleys they knew better than anyone. For the first time in 2 years, the town fought back. By dawn, it seemed impossible. German reinforcements were closing in. The uprising, bold, desperate, unexpected, was beginning to collapse. Elena and her group barricaded themselves inside the hospital, the same building where she had once saved lives, and now fought for them. Bullets shattered windows. Smoke crawled across the hallways. Medical charts spiraled through the air like falling leaves. Luca, weak and barely able to stand, tried to give orders. But Elena, the nurse who was never meant to lead, stepped forward. "We hold for 10 minutes, she said. "Just 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes bought everything. The main partisan force from the forest, alerted by the uprising, stormed the outskirts of the town. German reinforcements were forced to turn back. The occupation line broke. Elena's 10 minutes changed the front. When the smoke cleared, the Germans withdrew. The town battered, grieving, but breathing was free. Elena Markovich survived the war. She returned to that same hospital, rebuilt it brick by brick, and never once called herself a hero. but in the diaries of soldiers, in the reports of officers, and in the memories of the people she saved. One sentence appears again and again. It started with the nurse, a woman with no weapon, no rank, no training, only courage, and sometimes that's enough to start a revolution.